Well, hello, fiber friends. Welcome to an episode of the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. This is my little corner of the YouTube where I share and document my fibery adventures. That could be knitting, crocheting, weaving, spinning, yarn dyeing, or any other crafty rabbit hole I tend to go down. So if this sounds like it's something that's just right up your alley, grab a cup of something to wet your whistle. I have my morning coffee here. It's in my Grinch mug. And grab a project to work on. And let's chat. So once again, my name is Dorothy, and I am coming to you from Columbia, Maryland. This is my little channel where I talk about all my fibery adventures. It has been a little while because life has been a little hectic, and that seems to be the theme for 2025 and my life. I am hoping that theme will die on December 31st, and 2026 is much better. But anywho, if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for coming to check me out. I know that there are so many channels out there on YouTube, and you have chosen to come and share a little time with me. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I do so enjoy spending time with you guys, and I hope that you will, if you haven't already done so, give a like, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so that you can be notified for any future episodes. And let me share what I have with you today. I have a few FOs. I have a couple of whips. I have been working diligently on my Christmas knitting. I have some spinning to share with you. I have a, oh my, what happened to this sweater? I have some books. Let's see, what else do I have? I think just a few acquisitions from Rhinebeck. And I've officially done it. I have opened up my shop. It is open on Etsy. So I will have some shop updates to share with you. And I think that's about it. The reason why my life has been so crazy lately is because on Thanksgiving, I got a text message in the late afternoon from my younger sister who lives in New York. New York is where my parents are currently. And apparently my father had fallen in the driveway when no one was around. On his other hip, had to be taken to the ER. X-rays done. He had cracked his hip and they were not releasing him. He had to have emergency surgery again. He was in the ER all day on Thanksgiving, through the night into the next day. He went into surgery Friday afternoon. The surgeon there decided that due to his age and his health that they were going to do a partial hip replacement. So all they replaced was the ball joint on the femur bone. So it was supposed to be a quicker recovery and an easier recovery for him this time. They also decided not to put him completely under because of his age. And I think that made a big difference in the surgery this time versus the first hip replacement surgery he had done back in April. So they gave him an epidural so that his bottom half was, completely numbed out. And then they just gave him a little twilight so that he was asleep for the whole thing. But coming out of this surgery, his coloring and his personality was much, much better than the first surgery. The first surgery, he looked, his coloring was very grayish for like the first couple of weeks. This time he came out looking like he had just gotten off the beach. So he had his same coloring. He was in much better spirits. I think a lot of that has to do with also the fact that we managed to get him on antidepressants back in July. And I think that's really helped a lot with his outlook. And he is currently in a rehab facility. He's doing much better. He was actually walking with a walker a day after the surgery. which is, I think it took him 3 weeks after the first surgery before he was walking as smoothly with the walker as he is right now, just a couple of days after his surgery. So very, very pleased with that. He's doing much, much better. They're anticipating releasing him next Saturday, which I'm a little nervous about because my parents' house is a split level, so he's going to have to do stairs to go up and down. I understand that it's been an easier surgery and easier recovery, but I'm still concerned about that. I'm concerned that I think we really need to get mom some help at home, even though she is very stubborn and will make it difficult, but he needs somebody there with him. And that's where we are with my crazy life right now. So let's move on to finished objects. So without further ado, let me share with you what I am wearing today. So yes, I also have a new mic. So please let me know if the sound is better or if it's worse than what was previously, what you previously have heard on the episodes in the past, if you are a returning viewer, obviously. So what I have on is my Corey and poncho, and I can't think of the designer's name now. I can see her. She has her own YouTube channel, which I believe she just traded off and is only doing on Patreon now. And I can't think of her name. But this will be in the show notes. This was knit, I believe, last year. The base yarn is Dragonfly fiber. It was a sport weight yarn. It's the original Dragonfly fibers, not the new owners. The colorway was called the Big Apple, and I had 3 skeins of it, and each skein had progressively more black in it, so I did a semi-fade, and with the assist of this purple alpaca, I think it was an alpaca merino silk blend that I held with the sport weight. You can't really tell where I switched skeins, so it helped it blend in very, very nicely. I have worn this a lot this year in the fall. Very easy to throw on in the mornings when I'm heading out to work, when it's just a little bit chilly and you just want to take the nip off your shoulders. So that is what I'm wearing. If you would like to find me out on the interwebs, I will put some information over here for you. My Ravelry name is Felia, and you can find me on Instagram or Facebook as knitknotandweave. You can send me an email at knitknotandweave@gmail.com. And let's move on to finished objects. So this time I have 5 finished objects to share with you. I took some notes, but I'm realizing as I'm looking at my notes that I didn't take very good notes. So let's get started. First off, we have some socks that I have made. This is a second pair of Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. It was a leftover skein, and I paired it with this like burgundy solid that I had in my stash. These were cranked up on my Erlbacher knitting machine. The colorway is Coyote the Trickster. I believe I have made these for one of my nieces. I have to go back and check my notes. But I did put in the umbrella heel. I find that is a lovely heel, and most of my family seems to like that heel. So that's one pair that's officially finished. I have another pair from Desert Vista Dyeworks. The colorway is called Rainbow Runs the World. These are made for my littlest niece. Again, I used this is more of a purple mini that I must have had in my stash. Again, the umbrella heel. And so she will be getting these for Christmas this year. And then my last pair of socks are for me. This is a deep, deep stash dive. This is Hedgehog Fiber Yarns. It is her twist base, which is a BFL base. The colorway is Boombox. And I used a royal blue because I thought it went really well with the color. Again, with the umbrella heels. And so these are for me because I can't be knitting Christmas gifts all the time. I have to have something for me to keep me interested, right? Next up, I have a couple of hats. And this is I think it's pronounced Riker hat, Reykr. I made this at work during downtimes or meetings. This is knit up with Plymouth Encore color spun yarn. I did the size, the color is color 7811. So I don't know what the colorway is, but you could see all the colors there. It's a pretty black and brown, a little bit of rust red in here. The pattern is very, very simple. It's pretty much 1 by 1 rib all the way up until the special decrease. And it was something I've never done before, but it was very easy and I really liked it. And I will probably be making more hats like this. This was done on a 4.5 millimeter needle, which is a US size 7, and this will be going in the donation bin. I believe Riker was a free hat pattern on Ravelry. And the yarn is actually very nice. It makes the 1 by 1 ribbing makes a nice squishy hat. And then my last FO is this. It's called the Chess Play hat. Again, it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a pretty colorwork hat that I did in Commander colors that I'm going to be gifting to a coworker this Christmas. This was also the last square that I needed to fill for a bingo card for one of the knitting groups that I'm in. And I completed my bingo for this year. It was a lot of fun. It pushed me to try some things that I haven't tried before. So I'm very pleased with this. And what did I use? I used a 4.0 millimeter needle for the brim, which is a US 6, and then 4.5 millimeter for the main body of the hat, which is a US 7. The yarn that I used was Michael's Loops and Threads. I did. So the burgundy and it's called bronze, but I think it's more gold and it's coming out looking very much more orangey, but it's more of a goldy color. So this will be going to a coworker as a Christmas gift. And that is all I have to share in regards to finished objects. Because like I've said, I have been working diligently on some Christmas gifts. So let's move on to my whips. So my first one is a pair of Christmas socks that I am making for somebody in the family. These were cranked up. They were actually cranked up last year before I got my Earl Bacher. I had sent my yarn to Aquila of the Lefty Knitter podcast, and she cranked up these tubes for me, and these were left over from last year. This was a 72 stitch tube. This is going to be turned into I think it's a 10.5. size foot this person has. So all I have left to do is measure it out and put in the heels, and that will be another Christmas gift finish. So these are almost done. And the yarn was something I picked up from Hobie last year before all the wonderful tariffs were put into place. And then the toes, heels, and cuffs were done in a West Yorkshire spinner in this green here. Very soft for an inexpensive yarn. I liked it very much. And then next up is also another project that's almost finished. I went stash diving and I found some yarn that I had brought back from Ireland many, many years ago. It is their Studio Donegal yarn. Yes, I do. So it's 100% spun merino. This colorway is some lengthy number. But basically, I have black and I had garnet, and I knit the Hidola for my brother-in-law. Since I wasn't sure I would have enough in all black, I did a mix. This still needs to be blocked, but the hood is finished. And then I did the cowl for the inside in the red. And I thought he would be able, this would be good for him because they live in New York and he has to do a lot of snow shoveling. So the only thing that I have left to do for this one is make the I-cord string that goes into the hood and then block it. So I'm very pleased with this. I don't know, should I put it on? I don't want to mess up my hair. Let me see. And weave in all the ends. I still have all the ends to weave in. So here it is. And then the cowl comes up. And there we go. So I'm very pleased with this. This is the first time I'm using this yarn. I like it very, very much. It's definitely soft. It is a DK weight. It's definitely, I'm pretty sure it is woolen spun because it's very soft, very airy. And I had a lot of fun knitting this. Very easy pattern to follow, very well written. I might be making another one of these. Who knows? We'll see. But all I need to do is the I-cord. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do the I-cord in the black or the red. But we'll see what happens. That was a paid-for pattern. I do not remember how much I paid for it. And it is currently living in one of my Delaque mesh bags. Although this one says Stitch Red. But anywho. And then my last WIP that I'm going to share with you for today is my sister's. It is almost finished. Excuse me. It is one of these shawl sweater wrap things. I didn't follow any particular pattern. She picked out the yarn I'm not crazy about it, but that's what she liked. It is Let's Get Cozy Chenille Appeal. It's from Lion Brand. It wasn't that bad to work with, but it was okay. I think I used about 4 yards of it. 4 yards. 4 skeins. Apologize. And then it did not work so well when I first cast it on. It did not work so well for the arm stitching. I shouldn't say that, for the ribbing portion. It was just very, very loose, and it was not the look that I wanted. I'm sure it's not the look that my sister wanted. So I luckily had a skein of the Deborah Norville's Everyday in my stash in black. And so I cast it on, I think I cast it on 48 stitches. And then I did do a little thumb hole. I don't know if she'll use it or not, but it's on there. And I went up about mid-arm length. And then I slowly did some increases. I switched to the chenille yarn, and then I did increases. And then I just knit. Because it was done in chenille, I wasn't going to do any pattern in it because I thought it would take away. I think the texture would have taken away had I attempted to do any patterning in it. And so it was just a simple stockinette. I have not measured it, but it's approximately right now from end to end, I would say 70, maybe 75, 78 inches. When I got to the other side, I did the same amount of decreasing to get down to the 48 stitches. And then I knit the same number of rows, did the thumb hole for this side. And now I just have, I think, about like 10 more rounds of 1 by 1 knitting, and then what am I thinking? A tubular bind off to match the cast on, because I did do a tubular cast on to get a nice rounded edge here. And so it's just one of those where you could put on the sleeves, wrap it around like a shawl, and then you put on the other sleeves. I know there are a million of these patterns all over Ravelry. Some have cables, some have patterns in it. But like I said, because of the type of yarn my sister picked, I didn't choose to do any of that. I just let the chenille talk for itself. Hopefully this will be warm. This will probably be the last time I knit her something in black. Although I have to say, knitting thicker black yarn is not as difficult. Had this been a fingering weight, I'm not sure she would have gotten it this year. So it was a very mindless knit. It was just a simple like stockinette stitch. I did do an I-cord edging. So I would slip the last 3 stitches of the row with the yarn in front. And just to make a nice, neat side edging, even though because it is all stockinette, it's curling, but whatever. I think she will really enjoy this. She works just outside New York City, so she'll get a lot of use out of this black garment. But hopefully this will be finished before I go to bed tonight. And then once these 3 items are finished, I am done with my Christmas knitting for this year. I have decided that I'm not going to go crazy and knit up until Christmas Eve this year. At least not for Christmas gifts. For my own personal stuff, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone. So, next up, I have a what the hell happened to my sweater? A few weekends ago, actually several weekends ago, I went home. I went to New York to visit my sister. We had we had a girls' night out scheduled for Saturday. We all bought tickets to a Kathleen Madigan concert. And my youngest niece, little Miss P, was in her play, and it was opening night. Friday night was opening night. So I went up Friday after work and went to go see the play, which was lovely. They did an Alice in Wonderland, but a younger version of it. And it was adorable. She had a lot of different parts on stage that she was having a lot of fun with. And then Saturday, we were just sort of hanging out until we were getting ready to go to the comedy show when my older niece came down and asked me if I could fix the sweater that I made for her 2 years ago. Yes, I believe it was 2 years ago. And I said, well, what happened to it? She's like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I took it out of my closet and it was like this. I informed her that she probably had a mouse in her closet. Because I am pretty sure this is too much damage for a moth. So luckily, I believe I still have these colors left over in my stash. I've managed to not make anything else with it, but I'm going to have to cut out and bring it down to this blue. The thing I'm afraid of is it looks like in washing this that some of the blue might have bled into the white. So I'm afraid that the white, when I replace it, is going to be a much starker white than what's in here. But she's going to have to deal with it because there's no way that I'm going to be able to find a white with this blue tint to it. So other than that, the sweater seems to be in pretty good shape. This was a sweater that I designed from a photo she found online of a sweater she really liked, but she wanted in these colors. I thought it was so funny. She still had my stitch marker in there that marks this is the back. I'll have to replace that with some sort of a tag if I have one. But this was made with Malabrigo Rios, and it feels like it has just gotten softer and softer every time she washed it. So I'm pleased that she's liking this sweater. She's wearing it as much as she is wearing it. I will probably give her some sort of a storage box this year for Christmas with some instructions to put her handmade items in there with some lavender sachets. And that's where she needs to store all of the handmade knits that I've made her so that doesn't happen again. Of course, I think they have bigger issues because they need to find the little sucker that did that. But this will be a after Christmas problem because I already told her there's no way I could get this done before Christmas. But I'm glad she's enjoying it so much. And I can't believe my little peanut is going to be graduating this year. Oh my goodness. Now here's something that I found in my stash, in my craft room, I should say, as I was going through everything in my reorganization of that room. Yes, I am still working on my craft room. For those of you that don't know, I have officially been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and now ADHD. And so what I have learned is that there are times where I will go into an area that I need to work on, and I just feel overwhelmed and paralyzed, and I sit there and I stare. So yes, it's taken me a while and some therapy, and I'm still working on my craft room. But anywho, as I was taking everything out and reorganizing, I found these granny squares that I must have made. Oh gosh, this is Knit Picks yarn. I don't remember what the base was called, but it was 100% merino, not superwash, 100% merino. And they had this when Knit Picks first came on the scene. And I believe I was knitting or crocheting. I was supposed to be crocheting a motif bag with it. And I had managed to crochet up all the motifs that I needed. And I was supposed to, so it was how many do I have here? 3, 6, 9. So it was 12 motifs. So I think there were 6 motifs on each side of the bag. And then I was supposed to crochet a band that would connect them down across the bottom and up the side. So it would be something like that, where there'd be like a 3 or 4 inch gap to make it more of like a tote bag style. And for some reason, I never finished it. These were hiding in the bottom of a bin, just all nice and neatly stacked there. The yarn that I used for this is long gone. I'm sure I probably brought it all to a swap many, 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 many moons ago, because I completely forgot I even had this yarn, that I had even started this project. So now I have these 12 beautiful granny squares, and I have no idea what to do with them. I don't have any of this yarn to even connect them together. I was debating on attempting to felt one to see if it would felt nicely, and it could be possibly a coaster, a nice felted coaster. And I could give a set of 6 to each one of my sisters for Christmas. But then I was concerned that what if it screws it up? And then I'll only have 11 squares left. But I still don't know what to do with them. So if you have an idea for me of what I could do with these squares, they're about maybe 4.5 to 5 inches square. I love the motif. Front or back, you can't really tell. But if you have an idea of what I could do with these, like I said, there are 12. Let me know in the comments, because I'm at a loss. Or if you have ever felted a crochet square, let me know in the comments how well that worked out for you. I guess I could try and see where did I find this pattern? I don't even know where I found this pattern. I can't remember if it was a Knitty pattern or if it was possibly something from Lion Brand. But I'm sure I could find this motif, and I guess if I really wanted to try my hand at felting, I could make a scrap one with some merino yarn that I have left over from other projects and see how well it felts before I attempt to felt these. Maybe that's what I'll do. Well, thanks for talking me through that, but still, if you have an idea for me, let me know. And that pretty much finishes up all my works in progresses. So I guess now we can move on to the spinning. I have a few spins to share with you. 2 of the spins I have talked about previously because I had finished them on the bobbins, but I had never plied them up. So the first one I'm going to share is I have had officially plied up my Hedgehog Fibers Advent that I got last year. It was 24 10-gram minis, or 24 20-gram minis. 24 20 grams of fiber. Let me rephrase that. This was a fiber advent. And so I had 480 grams, almost 500 grams of fiber to spin up. There was 8 different bases that she used in it, and we had 4 colors, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. 3 different colorways of each of the different bases in the Advent. I will put a picture up here of what, over here, I guess. I will put a picture up here of what the Advent looked like at the beginning. Then I will put in a picture of what it looked like when it was on the bobbins. And here is what it looks like all plied up together. So this is an official 3-ply spin. It is a huge, huge skein of yarn. So these are the little tags that I use to label all of my hand spun. They're little Tyvek tabs, and if you write on them with a Sharpie marker, it will not wash off. So I have approximately 684 yards in here, and these have not been wet set yet. So this has approximately 684 yards. So this may possibly be turned into a jaunty. We will see. But the bases, here is a mix of all the fibers. This is a true combo spin. So there is some superwash BFL, silk, some glitter, some Corriedale, some superwash merino, some baby camel, rambouillet, regular BFL, sari silk, superfine merino, cashmere, and did I say superwash merino? I have that written twice. So here it is, and the way I spun this up was I broke each 20-gram mini into 3 sections, and I spun the first bobbin going from number 1 in order, 1 through 24. And then I wasn't sure how I was going to do the second and third bobbin. And a friend of mine, Patrick, suggested that I mix them up because some fibers would spin up differently. So if I wanted to try and get like like a consistent thickness all the way through, that I might want to mix up the fibers so that not all of my sari silks would be in the same section, because I know for myself, I'm not very good with sari silk yet. And so that section tends to get a little chunkier. So I spun, the first bobbin I spun days 1 through 24. The second bobbin I spun days 24 backwards to 1. And then the third bobbin I had mixed up some columns because the columns were all the same base. So I just rearranged some of the columns, and so they went all out of order. But I absolutely love how this turned out. I love all the colors that are in it. I cannot wait to wet set this so that I can actually start knitting this up. And this is a true combo spin. I just love it. It just, the weight of it is so lovely. So that was my hedgehog. And then I had, what one's this one? Okay, these were 2 skeins that I had spun up, I think, during Tour de Fleece last year. One was Rolags from Hidden Paxture. It was called Love Black Life. And that was the one that's a multicolor in here. And then the brown, I'm sorry, not the brown, the pink was a roving that I purchased from Avalon Farms. And this is a 2-ply yarn that was, what am I thinking of? Worsted spun, or partially worsted spun, because I think I had some trouble with the Rolags in this one. So I have 152 yards. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. This is a little twisty, but like I said, I still need to wet set it. So, and it could be twisty because it's been on the bobbins for so long. But I do like how this plied up. I do like the feel of these mixed up because the Rolags were a mix of merino, BFL, and alpaca. And the pink Avalon Farms was a mix of merino and polypay. So, and I feel like this spun up to be maybe a sport or DK. I'm thinking once it's wet set and it flips a little, it's probably more of a DK, and I may attempt to make a hat with this one. So that's another one. Then I had taken a spinning class with Jillian Moreno during Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. And she was kind enough to give us some fiber to take home and play with. And so a lot of this, most of this is Into the Whirl fiber. Some that we got from class, some was a gift that she had given us at the end, some of the minis. So this is a complete mix of fibers. I have no idea which fibers are in here, which colorways are in here, but it's a nice mix. And this is a 2-ply yarn, and there is approximately 342 yards in this one. I just love the mix of colors you get in this one. So I'm actually very pleased with the consistency of this 2-ply. Don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Maybe this will be the white elephant gift for my friends for when we have I'm sorry, I hit the mic again, didn't I? This may be the white elephant gift for my friend's holiday tea. We'll see. Oh, maybe I can't do that because if they watch this, they'll know what it is. Anywho, then in October, I decided to spin up a Halloween yarn. This is fiber I bought online from Etsy. It's called A Gem Fiber Arts. It was 8 ounces of a Polworth yarn that I spun into a 2-ply. I believe this is my first official 2-ply that I've managed to spin thin enough to make into a fingering weight yarn. And it's actually pretty consistent. I'm very, very pleased with the spinning of this one. It has taken me a very long time to be able to spin this thin and consistently. So I had a complete ball spinning this one up. So the first bobbin I spun up, I just broke up the yarn into chunks and spun them that way. So what I did was I took the whole braid, unbraided it, and I broke it down into chunks. I just, pulled apart sections, and then I separated those sections lengthwise. And so it's not a true fractal in that sense. And then the second 4 ounces of fiber, I did split lengthwise, I think into maybe 8 or 9 pieces and spun it that way. So this one has approximately 832 yards. So super, super pleased with this fingering weight. I'm so thrilled, you can't even imagine. This is what I had wanted to learn. This is what I had wanted since I first started spinning. And then I decided to challenge myself even more. Even more, Dorothy? What do you mean even more? I had purchased some fiber from Wool to Die For. No, I had purchased some fiber from Wool of the World, and I had made my own fiber blend. I wanted hardier socks that I could possibly make for the men in my family. So I made a small batch of a blend of superwash, Cheviot, and nylon. So it's still a 75-25 blend. I have never worked with Cheviot, but I knew it was a hardier yarn. So I had that, and that was purchased before the wonderful taxes or tariffs that we now have in this country. And I had also purchased a blend of BFL, superwash BFL, superwash merino, and nylon. And that is, if I remember correctly, it was 50% BFL, 25% merino, 25% nylon. But I haven't worked with that one yet, so I can't remember. But this one I know is 75-25 superwash Cheviot and nylon. And then I dyed it. I will insert a picture here of what the fiber looked like dyed up. And then I decided that I was going to attempt a true 3-ply fractal. And the way I was going to spin it was I believe it's called an opposing spin. I learned about this, and oh my God, I can see her face. I believe her name is Rachel, but I can't think of her podcast or her last name. And it actually may have been when I was watching a video from the School of Sweet Georgia on how to do sock yarn. So 2 plies get spun in the clockwise direction. 1 ply gets spun in the counterclockwise direction. And then you ply all 3 plies in the counterclockwise direction. This is supposed to make a sturdier sock yarn. So that's what I did. I separated the fiber into 3 different sections, just splitting it down the fiber run. And the first ply I attenuated a little, and I spun it from end to end with no separation of colors. The second bobbin, I had split the fiber into thirds, and I had spun those end to end, and then the next one end to end until those were done. And then the third bobbin, I had plied in the opposite direction, and that was a little getting used to, let me tell you. And I believe I split that section into 8 or 9 tiny lengthwise pieces. And so here is my first true 3-ply sock yarn spin. I am so pleased with this. This is approximately 442 yards. And if I remember, I believe I dyed up 6 ounces because I knew I wasn't sure if I would be able to, 1, get it this thin, 2, if I'd be able to get it that thin with 4 ounces. So I did 6 ounces just to be on the safe side. And I just love it. It still needs to be wet set, but this will definitely be knit into socks. So I will get to see that. And then I had a little bit left over, actually not a little bit, quite a bit left over on 2 different bobbins. Now, I don't know what other spinners do when they have leftovers on bobbins. Some seem to collect them, put them on storage yarns, and then I don't know what they do with them. I guess they make a random yarn, but I went ahead, since I had so much, and plied those two together. So I'm guessing this would be more of a 2-ply lace weight of my leftovers. And there is 290 yards in this hank. But again, so pretty. So these all need to be wet set and thwacked, and then they can be knitted up. It'll be interesting to see how much yardage I lose after wet setting them, because I haven't really measured that in previous ones. But now that I have all kinds of counters for my yarns, things like that, I'll be able to, when I go to cake them up, retake the measurements to see what the yardage actually is before I start knitting. And then I did, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. So the first weekend of November, we had our retreat, our knitting retreat, and a new yarn store or fiber art store opened up in Carroll County. For those of you that spin, if you want a good channel to watch, go watch JK Fiber Arts. That is her YouTube channel, and Kirsten is the owner of JK Fiber Arts, and she spins, she creates bats to sell, she does Rolags to sell, she does fiber braids that she sells. She and a friend of hers just opened up this new store in Maintown, Carrollton? I can't remember now. But she'll talk about it in her store. But I'll put the name here. It's called Looped in Fiber Arts. And so we went as a group trip opening weekend, and I bought one of her bats. It was a bat. It was 80% Shetland wool and 20% sari silk. And I spun it up long draw. Still had issues with the sari silk. She makes it, when I watch her spin it up, she makes it look so effortless. But here is my spin of Shetland wool and sari silk. It was a wonderful, wonderful spin. I enjoy long draw very, very much, but you could see these big chunks of sari silk. I definitely don't have the hand on those yet. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I do have another bat actually I have 2 bats in my stash, one from her, one that I made myself with her help on her machines, that I may do the long draw with as well, and then apply these 2 together. Or I was thinking I might just wet set this as a single and use it as a weft yarn in a weaving project. So I had not decided yet. But I'm sure you'll see this again when I decide what I'm going to do with that one. But I have a few other bobbins that have some yarn on it that I feel I managed to spin pretty thinly, and I didn't want to combine them with anything. So I wanted to do a chain ply spin with them to keep the color as it is. And I needed practice. I had not done a whole lot of chain plying, but the yarns that I had spun in singles were so nice that I didn't want to screw them up. So what did I do? I went through my stash and I found 2 lace weights yarns that I was probably never going to knit up as a lace weight. They were actually probably in my pile to get ready to give away. One was a merino that I had used to color test some dyes that I had. So I went ahead and hanked it up, put it into, caked it up, put it into a cake, and then I used my lace weight to practice the chain plying. So here's the first one. This is the one that I wound up dyeing when I was spot checking all of my, I think these were my different pink dye powders that I have for dyeing. And then I have, this was a single ply merino that was in my stash that I did the same thing. I hanked it up and I chain plied with it to get practice on the chain plying. And as long as I don't go too fast, I feel like I've got a good rhythm with the chain plying. And for those of you that don't spin or don't know what chain plying is, it's basically doing a long crochet chain while you're spinning. So that, if you crochet, that the chain stitch that you use to start almost any project, not the foundational chain, the regular chain, it's that same concept. You do a loop, you pull the spare yarn through and pull it out, and then you grab the new yarn and pull it out. So you're making these long chains that turn a single ply into 3 plies, and then they get twisted together. And then when you get to the join, if you do just a little rub together, you could sort of smooth it out so that there isn't a bump at that join. What I found when I was doing my 3 ply is when I got to that joint, if I was really good about stretching out the loop that was between my fingers and slowly coming back down, it also helps to smooth out the bump so that it's not all like, it's not a clump. I know I'm not explaining this very well, but that's what I found when I did my practice chain plies. If I spread it out a little bit further and just went a little bit slower in that section, that the 3 ply would just ply up nicely and I would not have that bump in that section. So these were just practice 3 ply yarns. Hopefully next time I will pull out those single bobbins and maybe 3 ply them together and see what I have. Or maybe I'll 3 ply this together and see what happens and then use this in a weaving project. I think this would be neat in a weaving project because of those pops of blue that would come up. I almost wish I had this before I finished that other weaving project. Anywho. So I guess not lastly, but I will talk about my new shop. So it's officially open. It's on Etsy. It is aptly named Knit, Knot, and Weave. I have posted all the yarns that were left over from my trunk show at our knitting retreat. I did do a trunk show of all my yarns. So our group was my little test subject, and I got a lot of good feedback from them. Turns out that not a lot of them really like yarn that have neps in them. I personally really like it for socks, but anywho, so I have managed to photograph and post all the rest of them up on Etsy. So I'm just going to show a few that I brought down to share with you all, and maybe you will go and check it out. So the bases are, I have from fingering to bulky, not a whole lot in the thicker range right now, because I had played around when I first started playing with dyeing. I had played around a lot with those bases, and had wound up making hats or giving some of those yarns out to my friends to play around with. But I had sock yarn bases from various different dyers. From various different suppliers before I had finally settled on the bases that I'm going to move forward with. So some of the sock bases are 80-20 and some of them are 75-25. Various yardages, so check the yardages for each on the listing. I have some fingering weights, which are 100% superwash merino. Yes, to me, there is a difference between a sock yarn and a fingering yarn. Although you can use, in my opinion, you can use sock yarn to make other things, I would not necessarily recommend using fingering yarn for socks unless you plan to do all the hand washing and all the darning of it, because without nylon, with the exception of certain breeds that you would have to spin up yourself, they're not going to be as sturdy. Then I have some sock yarn with neps in it, which is an 85-15 blend. I have DK superwash, 100% superwash. I have some DK with neps that can be used for DK socks. I don't think I did any of my 75-25 DK. There are a few in worsted weight, 100% superwash merino. There's some Donegal neps in the Aran weight that I had acquired from a friend who had stopped dyeing due to health reasons, and I think I have a few bulkies in there. So first up, I'm going to share, this is a 75-25 sock yarn, and this is called Izzy. It's a beautiful purple with micro specks of blue on there, various shades of purple. Then I have, this is another 75-25 called Fairy Lights. It's a beautiful base of a pale peachy pink and a light lavender with speckles of blues and pinks and oranges on there. I love speckling. Then I made a nice blend. This is a more tonal. This one is called Hot Lips. I don't know why I thought of, and this is not that color at all. Ooh, this is a much, much more vibrant pink than what's coming up on the screen. But anyway, I saw this, and the first thing that came to my mind was Hot Lips Houlihan. Don't ask me why. This is a 2-ply fingering superwash merino that I called Autumn Leaves, and I used a picture to pull the colors from. And if I have the picture, I will put it up right here of where I got the color inspiration from. This one is another sock yarn called Pan's Forest, and I will put up the inspiration photo for this one. This is a beautiful mix of all kinds of greens and little speckles of brown to really get that foresty feel to it. This was a holiday color for me. This is on, again, sock weight, and this is called Gingerbread. This is a beautiful light gingerbread color with little speckles of pinks and blues and oranges to represent the candies that might go on. I think if I make this again, I will be a little bit heavier with the speckling, but here you can see it better. Some of it is on the inside of all the speckles that come up. Here I have a fingering that I called Zazu. So it's on a gray base, or the base color that I used was two different, a combination of grays. And then I did some speckling with blues and purples. And then this one, I just love how this one came out, is my ocean color. And I will share the inspiration photo, which I think I really nailed it on this one. Then I have, this is one of my this is a worsted weight, okay, that I called Ziggy. Beautiful mix of colors. And lots of fun learning to play with colors. That is my piece de resistance, I think, is playing with colors. I have this beautiful plummy pink color that I've called Valerie. This is on a worsted weight. And I think I actually have a sweater's quantity of this one on in my shop. Here is another color that I had a lot of fun playing with creating and then naming. This is called What Does the Fox Say? So it's beautiful colors of foxes with speckles of black and red in there, because there are some red tones to the browns on the fox that I used, and I'll have the inspiration photo up. And then this is, oh, okay, I do have a DK Superwash Merino and Nylon. This is called Blueberry Patch. It's a beautiful, beautiful mix of greens, blues, and purples to really get the colors of a blueberry patch. It's a nice saturated colorway. And then you will also find a listing for yarns that I have called The Graveyard of Lost Souls. These are yarns that I cannot reproduce. I mixed probably colors that were left over. Some of the water may have been from when I was rinsing out tools and mixed colors together. This was a dip dyeing experiment that I did. And this is my Aran Weight Donegal yarn. I'm going to mess this up. But what I mean by dip dyeing is when you look at this hank, it's got a much darker color down bottom here, and it gets lighter and lighter as I get to this end. So what that means is that this portion of the yarn was in the color longer, and so it absorbed more coloring. And as I dipped it a little further each time, more and more color got absorbed at the bottom of the skein, and the top of the skein is just a very, very light, I guess, tealish green. So these are all called lost souls. So they cannot be reproduced. Some have a single skein, some may have two, depending upon how much dye I thought was in the water, or if I was playing around with speckling. So, anywho, that's what I have for shop updates. So, if you are watching this and you have watched to this point, I will give you a little coupon code to use on my Etsy shop. And I will give you the code KKW10. And that will give you 10% off your purchase. Don't share that. It's just for you people. Only because you sat here and watched me all the way to the end, okay? So KKW10 for 10% off your purchase from my shop, knitknotandweave at Etsy.com. And then very quickly, not very quickly, but next up are my acquisitions. And the only acquisitions I have were from Rhinebeck. So me and a small group of friends, we went up to Rhinebeck. We went up Friday morning. We did not do any of the events on Friday. We just wanted to be able to get up there and relax. We went early Saturday morning and we went back Sunday. We went Saturday just for me, I went just to hang out on the hill, try and find people and say hello to them again, meet a few new people, and then sort of just hung out and people watched. I did hit a barn that day because there was a specific yarn that I wanted. And then I just sort of relaxed for the rest of the day and decided that Sunday would really be my shopping day. I had nothing urgent that I had to get. I wasn't looking to buy any special, show colors this year. I had just gone through all of my yarn. So I had an awakening that I really didn't need much. And so I had that in my head. And then we went home Monday because we just wanted to come home Sunday from the festival and be able to relax instead of having to pack everything up and driving 6 hours back home. So I did get to meet quite a few people. I got to see and talk with Kevin and Ray again. I got to catch up with Michael from Piece Crafting and Chip and Aaron from Fiber Hustle. I kept missing Renee and Rachel from Table 10. I did get to meet the ladies from Yarn Shenanigans, and I got to talk to them for a bit. A few other people here and there. Sorry if I don't remember everyone. I had a blast with my friends. I did not get a whole lot of pictures because I was too busy living in the moment. But I did buy some things, not a whole lot, especially for me. But there was one booth that I wanted to hit first thing in the morning, because last year when I got there, they had sold out of the colors that I wanted. But I wanted to get to white birch fibers. And so I beelined for that barn, and I got 3 sock yarns. This is the one that I really, really wanted. It is a self-striping, and it does rainbows. And then between the rainbows, there's this section of blue and white that almost makes it look like clouds between the rainbows. That's the one I was looking for last year, and it had sold out. Then I saw this one, which is rainbow, and the dissecting section is all black, so black rainbow. And then this one really caught my eye. So I'm sorry, let me tell you what these are called. So this one says, nothing like screw you like a rainbow. This one is, does this rainbow make my black look big? And then this one is Rhinebeck rainbow. So it's more of a moody autumn rainbow. And what I like about her is that she has each one of these tested up, and they're all in little frames so that you could see how the rainbows look. So that was my first purchase on Saturday. And then Sunday, I hit Cedarbrook Farms. I did manage to get another bag of fiber. So I got a 1 pound bag of fiber, and 1 pound for $24. That's a steal in my book. And then I bought 2 skeins from Cedarbrook Farm to make the, oh my God, brain. It's the cow. It's the Samantha Guerin cow. Why can't I think of the name? It's the Samantha Guerin cow that everybody and their mother is making right now. Grid Gambit. The Grid Gambit cow. So I bought this speckly black. It's black and it's got little shimmers. Their shimmer is like rainbow. I don't know if you're really going to be able to, I don't know if you could see it in there or not, that the shine is different colors. And then I bought this colorway. It's called Solar Flare. And I thought the 2 of these together would make a really cool Grid Gambit. So this is merino wool and trilobal nylon. And then this is 100% BFL. So that's going to be my Grid Gambit. And that is all that I purchased from Rhinebeck. I was a very, very good girl this year. So lastly, let me share the couple of books that I've read these past couple of weeks that have been really, really good. I don't share the ones that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I don't share the names either, because just because I don't enjoy them doesn't mean that one of you may not enjoy them. I read a whole lot of books. I'm a media specialist at a high school, so I read a wide range, and I have to read them because I have to evaluate them for my county. And some of them I don't like, but if they are well written, if they don't have a wacky plot line or something, they get approved. Because just because I'm not a huge dystopian person doesn't mean that I don't have kids in my high school that aren't dystopian people, just like you may be a dystopian person, but I am not. So if I don't particularly care for a book, I just don't share it. But the books that I have read that I do like, I share. So the first one is called The Physic Book of Deliverance Dane, and physics is Physick, and it's a play on the word because of what happens in the book, and it moves between contemporary times and the Salem witch trials with what's going on. I love this book. It was very, very engaging. Next up, I really got into Lucy Foley lately, and I read The Guest List. This is a book where a couple is getting ready to have a party, and various different people are on the guest list that the husband wasn't, particularly fond of, but I can't tell you too much because otherwise it'll give it away. But anyway, it was a good book, especially if you like mysteries. Then I read The Quiet Librarian by Alan Eskins. I'm sorry. The Physics Books of Deliverance Dane was written by Catherine Howe. The guest book is by Lucy Foley. And then The Quiet Librarian is by Alan Eskins. And this moves between today and the time of the Bosnian Serbian War, which was 1980s, 90s maybe? Very, very good and heartbreaking, but the main character is Bosnian. She loses her family. She winds up with the rebels. Then she winds up in America, and it goes back and forth between her life as a young teen growing up in the war and what she has to do, and her life now as this quiet librarian. Very good. And then the last one I'm going to share, it's called The Paris Apartment Again, it's another Lucy Foley book. The main character is Jess, and she is going to visit her brother Ben at this Paris apartment. Ben lives in Paris, and Jess is going to visit him. She gets there, and Ben is nowhere to be found. There are different folks living on different floors of this apartment place, and it's very intriguing. There's an interesting twist in there, and that's all I'm going to say. But I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that book. And that is officially all I have for you guys. So, if you have enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you are notified of future episodes. Please leave me a comment in the comment box. Let me know what you are working on, if you are doing any Christmas knitting, if you are doing any Christmas spinning. I'm actually going through my fiber stash now to see if I have any fiber that can be considered Christmassy color fibers. I'm getting ready to do an inventory of all my fiber. I don't want to. And if you have any suggestions at all of what I could do with these squares, let me know. Other than that, I hope you are all having a wonderful holiday season. If you are gift knitting, I hope that you get them all done in time. If you are just knitting for yourself, more power to you, because that's what I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and happy crafting. I love you all. Have a great time. Ciao, ciao.